Good morning, folks. If you don't know me, my name's Sheska Tennant, and I'm one of the occasional preachers here, not a professional. Now, we're continuing our series in Joshua with the story of Joshua meeting the commander of the Lord's army, but I actually want to start somewhere completely different. So in 2024, if you remember, someone tried to assassinate President Trump. And they managed to kill one of his security detail, who happened to be a committed Christian, but they just caught the ear of Trump. And he reckoned from that point that God was on his side. And last month he was asked what God thought of his first year of the presidency. And he said, "I think God is very proud of the job I've done." Now, some people might wince at this a little. But I think all of us are tempted to feel that God's on our side, particularly in matters that we feel strongly about, whether there should or shouldn't be a female archbishop, whether gay marriage should be blessed in church or whatever. We have strong views and we kind of assume God's on our side. And I think that Joshua assumed that God was on his side. After all, hadn't he been told by God that he was going to take over leadership from Moses? Hadn't God said to him, "Be strong and courageous, for I will be with you wherever you go"? And yet something happened. He met the commander of the Lord's army, and everything changed. So there's Joshua. He's just outside Jericho, this great walled city, and somehow the children of Israel have to get into the walled city for the first step of taking the promised land. And he meets a strange warrior he doesn't recognize. So he says, "Are you for us or are you against us? Are you friend or foe?" And the answer he got was not the one he expected to get, because the commander of the Lord's army, who is probably God, probably in Jesus' form, but might be an angel, says, "Neither. I'm not on your side. I'm not on the enemy's side." And this is really important, because if we think God is on our side, what we mean is that we come up with the ideas, we come up with the doctrines, and then we expect God to rubber stamp them. But that isn't the way it works. And in fact, it's quite scary if we're the ones in control and God isn't in control, don't you think? Quite scary and pretty dangerous for people who think that God's on their side and never look to him to find if he is. So Joshua's response was to fall on his knees and say, "I am at your command. What do you want your servant to do?" And of course, the other thing about God not being on our side, but us being in God's side, is that what God is calling us to, if we're on his side, is being part of this amazing thing that he is doing, the fight against good and evil, the redemption of the whole world. That's what he's calling us to. And the other side of it is, Joshua needed to know that God was in command and God was boss. Because to be honest, what God was calling him and the children of Israel to do was bonkers. So they've got this great walled city. How do you win over a walled city full of armed soldiers with chariots and horses and all sorts of things? Well, probably you lay it to siege. What you don't do in most cases is what God wanted him to do. Walk around the cities for 6 days in the run. Walk around once with the priests at the front and the army at the back. And then on the 7th day, walk around the walled city 7 times, blow a load of trumpets and shout very loudly, and guess what? The walls are going to fall down. How bonkers is that? But it happens to be what God wanted to do, and it happened to work. Now, it's the same thing for us, that we need to realize that God is not on our side. We need to be on God's side. We need to accept his call to be part of his plan to work against the powers of evil and to bring redemption to the whole world. And that means that what we're called to do is, before any new project or challenge or strong idea we have, we need to be on our knees saying to God, I am at your command. What do you want your servant to do? And the fact is that some of the stuff that God is going to ask us to do is bonkers to the world. I mean, forgiving freely, loving your enemies. If someone hits you, turn the other cheek. Pick up your cross, follow Jesus. Don't accumulate treasure on the earth. Lose your life to save it. Love and care for the prisoners and the asylum seekers and the refugees. And I don't know what else we're going to be called to do. Maybe something that sounds as bonkers as walking around Jericho 7 days in a row. I've got something coming up. Spoiler alert. Next week, by some quirk of the rota, I've been given possibly the most difficult passage in the whole Bible to talk about. Me, I'm the amateur, not the professionals, not the people who've been to Bible college, not the person who, when he preached on Joshua, said there are going to be some very difficult passages coming up, but me. So all I can do is go down on my hands and knees and say, I'm at your command. What do you want your servant to do? And we'll see next week if that worked. But one thing I want to say, we don't need to mistake God being on our side for God having our backs. God always has our backs. He mightn't want to sponsor some totally crazy project we've got, but he always has our backs. He loves us. He cares for us. He wants the best for us. He wants to bless us. And he wants to put our feet on that path that leads to a life that matters, a life that takes part in the fight between good and evil and helps with the redemption of the world. And he knows we're going to fall many times, but he's there each time to pick us up, dust us off, and put our feet back on that road. And so the two messages from this passage, the first one is, hey God, are you on my side or are you on the side of someone else? Neither. We're called to be on God's side. But on the other side of it is the message, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.